This is Roy Taylor, a stuntman, coordinator, and a director who's been working in the industry since 1996. He has won multiple awards for his work and has worked on such films as Barbie, Age of Ultron, Harry Potter, and so many more. And I was able to have an interview with him about his work and how he does it.
My name is Roy Taylor, and I'm a stunt coordinator in the film and television industry.
What made you choose a career in film and stunt work?
So since I was 8 years old, I wanted to be a stuntman, and I thought I had to be an actor to be a stuntman. And so I went to a performing arts college and studied musical theatre, thinking and learned acting, dance, singing. Then I found out that there's a thing called the British Stunt Register. And it was that British Stunt Register, you have to have 6 different disciplines, like be highly skilled in 6 different sports, like horse riding, martial arts, swimming, scuba diving, trampolining, rock climbing, driving motorcycles, all sorts. So anyway, I got my qualifications in that, and then I managed to get onto the British Stunt Register, and then from then I then started learning my trade within the stunt industry.
What would you say your inspirations are for both film and stunt work?
I like old silent movies like Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, Harold Lloyd. Those were like the pioneers of stunt work, in my opinion. And obviously they did a lot of things for real, but also at the same time, they were using their camera skills to make the illusions that a lot of things were way more dangerous than they were. And so I look back at those times because I feel that they were like the main innovators of the film industry when it comes to action. And Buster Keaton had great timing and just great physical awareness. So I look at those films. I also like Jackie Chan movies because he's similar. You know, he does the same kind of deal. It's those films probably inspire me the most, I think. Yeah, silent movies and a bit of Jackie Chan.
What would you say makes an enjoyable fight scene?
Me personally, I think an enjoyable fight scene is something that is more about, I find that it should be about character. There shouldn't be, I personally think it shouldn't be a fight for the sake of fighting. Whenever I create action for the various pictures that I've worked on, it's not just action for the sake of action. It should help develop each individual character and be able to tell the audience a little bit more about their character and their story. So within certain fight sequences, depending on the set, the location and their background, I'll try to incorporate that within the fight sequence. So, you know, would use pieces of furniture around us. How does that person think? What state of mind are they in at that point in time? Are they highly skilled? Are they not highly skilled? You know, are they just fighting for their lives? Are they tired? What's happened in the film beforehand? Are they wounded? You know, also, if they take hits, I come from a background of working on the doors, and I've you know spent many years fighting for real, so I'm able to bring that within my fight sequences that I make. And when you're taking hits and blows, let's just try and tell that story within the fight. So if you get shot in the arm, can you use that arm anymore, or is that going to be kind of slightly redundant? Are you going to have to use other, you know, false multipliers that we call them, so that you can, let's use the chair, let's use the coffee mug or the kettle or whatever it is that we want that's around us. So I think them moments there, I think is what can make a fight scene a bit more interesting than rather just like I'm just doing a couple of punches here and there just for the sake of it. I think if you can tell a story, I think you're winning.
Yeah, no, I get it. So it's all about character building and, you know, looking around and making sure like it's done properly. So is that how like you come up with your choreography for films?
Yeah, so I would look at a script and I'll read the whole script as a story, and then I'll find out what the story is about. Then I'll have my own view on what that story is about, and if I was directing, how I would direct it. And then I look at the fight sequences in it, or the action sequences, and then I'll go, how can I help develop that story even more with the characters? And then I have discussions with the director, and I'll say to the director, look, this is what I was thinking, these are the ideas I have. And then the director will say, well, I kind of saw it that this person would be more, I don't know, scared at this moment, or more aggressive, or whatever it is that director wants. And then I incorporate that within the fight. I also look at what are the capabilities of the actors that are working on it. So there's a big film coming out in February called Argyle, which is a spy movie by Matthew Vaughn, and I put the fights together and did the action sequences as a stunt coordinator for that, with the help of the second unit director, who's Damien Waters, who lives up in Derby. And it's about, there's loads of fight sequences in there, and each film is different. But I think that's if you watch those movies, it's really just about just trying to figure out the best way of telling the story, but making it exciting and making it new as well, if possible. Yeah. But when you look at a fight, pretty much all the fights, all the techniques have been done before. You've got your hands, your head, your teeth. You can pull an ear off. Do you know what I mean? You can use, this, whatever this is, and cut someone up with it or whatever. You've got weapons, guns, cars. You can use the cars within a fight scene. If you're in that era, if you're in a spaceship, you can use whatever's. You can use a hose to wrap around someone's neck or whatever it is. And it depends on what is the goal of the fight sequence. Like, where do you want it to? What is the end of that fight sequence? Do we have to kill someone? Do we have to just subdue someone? So many different elements that go into it, so looking at your piece, for instance, you just explained to me that you've got like this fight sequence that's set in the past where the weapons are potentially made out of bamboo. Is there a shield?
Not that we know of. I might ask them if they do have any, but I don't believe they do.
Okay. But what it is you can use the shield as a weapon. Do you know what I mean? As a blunt force trauma weapon. Do you know what I mean? And if you're just going to use the swords, then what part of the sword are you going to use? Are you going to use the back of the sword, the sharp part of the sword? Are you going to use the hilt? Do you know what I mean? Are you going to use other parts of the body? Are you going to push, shove them? Are we going to put someone off balance? Are we going to hurt someone? Are we going to break an arm or break a leg? So that person now has got that problem. It's almost as well for me, when I put fight sequences together, is giving this roller coaster ride of being able to, depending on who you want the audience to root for, do you put them in trouble at some point where you're like, oh no, as an audience member, he's going to get it. He's going to get done. And then all of a sudden, somehow he gets out of the move, or he gets out at the point where he's about to get slaughtered or finished. And then we get him back into the game. So it's kind of giving the audience a bit of an experience like that,
When it comes to like techniques you use to make it like a successful fight scene, you do think about what weapons they're using, how they're going to use them, and all these like little things that will add on to it. There's no big, like, it's point A to B. It's all the little things that come together.
Yeah, I say this to my stunt team all the time, and I say this to the actors. I think the best piece of advice is that you have your moves, right? So let's say jab, cross, hook, just for instance, yeah? But the biggest part of the storytelling is what's in between each one. What's happening in between the jab? What's happening now? Like, am I moving out the way to put in the cross? Then am I coming underneath to come in with the hook? It's like, you can put a fight scene together with swords, yeah, and you can go, chop, chop, chop. But what is the in between the chops? What's the story you're trying to tell in between? Like, that then adds a whole new level to the fight sequence. Also, Harry, so let me just add something there. Is also don't do, like, I hate this, like, is don't have like people aiming for the for your purposes, right? When that person aims to strike the sword, don't make it look like they're just striking swords. It needs to be that person. If they didn't block, it would have cut them. So they need to move. They need to move. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, it just looks like you're country dancing or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Just
it's all planned out. It's all to be
Don't make it look choreographed. If it looks choreographed,
Yeah.
then I think you're doing something wrong. Do you know what I mean? If it looks raw and real, and you're in it, then you're doing good.
That actually comes into the next one of what are the common mistakes and think of that make a bad fight scene. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's that, and it's also if the camera angles are wrong and you don't sell the shot or you don't make it look dangerous because you don't know how to shoot it properly. I think they're common mistakes. I think if it doesn't feel dangerous within the fight sequence because the punch is like here and they got a straight arm, there's no point in them moving out the way. Like it needs to be like here to make it jump to move up. It's that kind of deal, So just I think they're the common mistakes as well, and also just trying. Sometimes it's all right to look flash depending on what the character is, but don't be flash for the sake of being flash. Figure out, would the character do that? Yeah, they would do that because they're super skilled or whatever it is. Or then when I was doing with Captain America is Flash. Like he does loads of cool stuff. He does like flips and everything else, and we use the shield to punch to have their fight sequences. So that's all cool. But then if you do another fight sequence, I can't think now, but if you're a secret agent in a James Bond film, you're not going to be so flash because you're like proper up against it. It's supposed to feel real. Like there's certain things you can get away when you're doing comic book films, and then there's certain things you can get away with when you're doing spy films.
Yeah,
but they're two different genres.
What's it like working with stunt actors, like in your experience?
I think a lot of them are super professional. They'll understand camera angles, which will help you out. They have to be able to be fit because it'd be take after take after take. Each time that the stunt performer does their fight, it has to look like it's the first time that they've done it. It can't look like they've done 7 takes of it and they're tired. They have to be, or unless they have to look tired because they've been fighting for 2 minutes within the film. Do you know what I mean? That's different, but they have to have that same movement all the time. Understand where the camera is, not just because of what they are going to have on the camera, but to make sure that no one hits the camera with their swords, or if they get thrown into a camera. If you've got multiple cameras on, you have to sell the shots to both cameras, So I definitely think you should look at that. If you're going to create a fight sequence, just make sure that everything is safe, because the ultimate job really is to make sure everyone goes home nice and safe, no one gets beat up, and make sure there's enough time to shoot your action sequence, and make sure that all the camera team are safe. And also, communication is key. Like, if you've created a fight sequence and you've got the camera coming super close, for instance, and someone pulls the sword and it hits your cameraman, then you've lost. And your cameraman gets a cut on the head, or camera woman gets cut on the head, then you might not. Well, then that whole shoot day's finished, isn't it? So, and it might be simply because you or the choreographer didn't tell the camera person that was what the move was going to be. Do you know what I mean? So you just need to make sure that you communicate properly with the whole team. And that's as a director, or as a first, or as a choreographer, or as a stunt performer. You have to make sure everyone knows exactly what's going on. Have rehearsal time, go slow speed, so everyone knows where the weapons are going to be at that point in time.
How would you say you've grown in your filmmaking and stunt work over the years?
I think I've grown in a way within think I've grown in the stunt industry and in film work by actually watching every other department work and understanding what everybody's job role is, right? By doing that, I now understand what pressures they're under. So I try my best to make it not so hard for them. So when I speak to the prop department, I'll give them plenty of time and say, listen, I'm going to need a soft mug because I'm going to hit the guy in the face with this mug. Do you know what I mean? Or I'll speak to like the art department and say, listen, I've got to crash through this wall in a minute because I've have got 3 guys fighting or something like that. Can we have a breakaway wall? And yeah, we can sort that out. I'm gonna have an explosion here. I'm gonna have wires pulling people through the ceiling. I need to put the wires in the ceiling, you know. And then it's, you know, talk to costume, you know. I need more flexibility in the costume. I need to be able to crouch down. I don't need all of the trousers ripping every time I crouch down, for instance. I need flexibility there. When we're wearing pads, for instance, or harnesses, we need a little extra room for that. Hair and makeup, you know, guys, what's the hair made of? Because I'm going to do a fire burn. If it's nylon, it's just going to disintegrate and burn the guy's or girl's head. Do you know what I mean? When you set them on fire. And it's also about like just understanding. I think through my experience, I've understood a lot of stuff where I've seen things go wrong, and then I try not to make those same mistakes, or not I've made the mistakes, but I'll try not to replicate those mistakes, you know.
If you were to choose a project, what has been the most fun to work on and why?
I think the most enjoyable projects I've done so far at the moment is, believe it or not, Barbie, because Barbie was, the team was super nice. The whole crew was super nice. I got to be super creative within the fight sequences that was going on, with the battle sequence. Like, you could just be silly and have a good time with it. And it wasn't violent in any way. Like, sometimes when you do these big films, you have to get into a mindset of like war or killing or whatever it is. Whereas when you did Barbie, everything was just pink and fluffy and fun. Do you know what I mean? So it was really super. Just going into work every day was fun. At the moment, I'm working on How to Train Your Dragon, which is a live version of the animation film. And I'm getting to fly kids on dragons, and we're getting to do like really cool stuff where no one's getting really badly hurt, but you're trying to simulate, you know, people getting hit by dragon fire and stuff like that. That's good. That's good fun too. So I think, weirdly, I'd say my favorite film so far is Barbie.
That's amazing. And lastly, what advice would you give to someone like me who's looking to direct an action film?
Yeah, I mean, for you directing this action scene or directing the action film, I think that what you need to do is just be super prepped. Make sure that you know exactly what needs to be done, how long that's going to take. Give yourself extra time. Also speak to your team about rehearsing. You know, if you can, shoot previses. I shoot previses a lot for the directors, and I say that this is how we're going to shoot it. These are the angles. What you'll find out during that process is what works and what doesn't. So that then on the day when you come to shoot it, then you know exactly what shots you want to do and how you're going to edit it. And then you're not going to waste time shooting stuff that you don't need. So I'd say, you know, if you can and you've got a dance hall or some kind of space, get the people there, get them rehearse just without cameras, rehearse the sequence how you want it to be, and understand how long that takes. Then get your cameras there and shoot again, roughly, you know, in a dance space. Then you know what you're going to shoot and edit because you've edited it already. Then take that out to your location with your costume, and you'll find that it becomes a bit more of a quicker process because it's almost like a painted by numbers. It's a moving storyboard. So you can look at that video and you can go, okay, I need to do this, 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 this. And what happens though, is it doesn't mean that you're stuck to that previs. When you get out there, you might find, oh, this would be a really cool bit because I'm underneath this oak tree. I can cut off a piece of this oak branch or whatever, and we could do this. You can still add, but what you've got is you've got a template there that you can work to, and no one's hanging around waiting. And also your camera operator knows what they want to do, and then you've got your vision there on camera because you've shot it, and you don't have to explain too much. Do you know what I mean, to people? But also, I'd say for you as well is make sure that you communicate properly with all your different departments to make sure that you get what you need from them early on. Because you don't want to get there on the day and then have the problems with, oh, I didn't want that color tunic. Do you know what I mean? Oh, because now they both look the same. So definitely make sure that for your sequence, 2 different colors so that those, the audience always knows, you know, who's who. Because when you're spinning around each other, if you're both wearing the same thing, the audience will get confused and go, oh, I don't know who's who. You know, have a green one and a red one or something like that. And then at least you know who you're rooting for when you're watching the fight.
Well, thank you so much.
No worries.
Thanks
for doing it so quickly for us, because I'm going to be away again in Belfast and I don't know when I'd have time to do it. So now's a good time.
Yeah. Can you tell me anything about Belfast? Is it anything exciting?
It's just that How to Train Your Dragon that I'm working on. And
oh wow.
Yeah, so it's good. It's a good film. So can't say who's in it yet, so I don't think that's been released. I think there's a couple of names on the IMDb. There's a few other people.
There's some rumours about it, and there's a I know it's under some dark things. It's a big project. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, it should be quite good, I hope. And from what I've been working on, I think it would be quite a cool film. So it should be good.
Yeah. Well, I'll leave you and have a lovely evening. Thank you ever so much.